Is the narcissistic silent treatment toxic? Feeling included is crucial to the human experience. Humans must feel connected to each other to be happy. Even introverts who enjoy a large amount of independence, they need to feel connected to each other to be happy. So according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the need to belong and feel accepted falls under the basic needs of food, water, and safety. In fact, this need can be so strong, it can override the need for food and safety. Psychologists consider the narcissistic silent treatment as a form of abuse. It's a popular form of mental torture used by narcissistic individuals, whereby they cut their victims off by not talking to them for extended periods of time, sometimes days or weeks, which keeps the victim in a constant state of fight or flight, during which they feel isolated and rejected, as well as physically sick. The body's physical reactions to this mental anguish are real. Headaches, stomach aches, and a general punched in the gut feeling are the most commonly reported symptoms. So, narcissistic silent treatment is done with malice. It is important to remember when you are at the receiving end of the narcissistic silent treatment to not take it personally. This is not the narcissist's first go round. They've been using the silent treatment to manipulate people long before you came along. However, knowing this doesn't really take away the pain when it's happening to you. When the narcissist ignores, shuns, and ostracizes you, it's more hostile and aggressive than if they'd verbally attacked you. In fact, narcissists give their significant others the silent treatment to intentionally inflict emotional distress. Even their own children. Narcissists will give even their own children the silent treatment to just inflict emotional distress on them. So the narcissistic silent treatment slams the door on connection. It diminishes the relationship and manipulates the recipient into a place where their human emotional needs are shamed, ridiculed, and reduced. It is scheming and tactical. They want to send a very clear message to you. You do not exist. You are unworthy. You are not important. That is the message they want to send to you. Because this type of abuse is harder to specify, it can be harder to heal from. So when someone is ostracized, it affects the part of their brain called the anterior cingulate cortex. Silent treatments trigger what is called social pain in this part of their brain, which also detects actual physical pain, leaving just as many internal scars as if it were done to your body. But the narcissistic silent treatment is often more painful than actual physical pain. So if you try to recall physical pain, you might not remember much, but remembering emotional pain can actually stir up more negative feelings and pain than old physical pain. So thinking about emotional pain hurts more than thinking about physical pain. The depth of pain from the silent treatment depends upon the intensity of the narcissist ignoring. The pain detected by the brain then makes the victim feel lonely and rejected. It lowers self-esteem, and the victim thinks their life is unworthy. It causes great harm to the sentiments of the victim. This condition may even cause critical conditions and permanent damage to the victim's psyche. Narcissists use this fear to keep you in a perpetual cycle of anxiety, causing you to crave their return when they give you the silent treatment, knowing they can do whatever they please and you will take them back with little opposition. You might verbalize your dislike of their choice and explain how hurtful it is, but take away the words and the fact is that they insert themselves back into your life with barely a hitch. Narcissistic silent treatment is an aggressive measure of control and punishment for something you did, a sadistic form of timeout, ostracizing you as motivation for you to behave. It is the ultimate form of devaluation, causing you to feel voiceless, alone, dismissed, negated, as a person invisible. The detrimental, holistic effects of the narcissistic silent treatment include emotional, since it is a form of social rejection. It provokes a mix of negative emotions, including frustration, intense anger, and eventually resignation and despair. Psychological effects of the silent treatment include low self-esteem, a sense of loss and not belonging, increased stress, and loss of control. Behavioral. The constant fear of receiving the silent treatment casts a shadow of uncertainty in your life. You begin to second guess yourself. Am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right words? You try hard to avoid it, which changes you to a person that is no longer you. Then the other effect is physical. Different levels of emotional stress often lead to physical symptoms and illnesses, such as high blood pressure, heart disease, cognitive decline, weight loss or gain, blood clots, and even certain types of cancer. So, let's look at examples of narcissistic silent treatment. You point out that something they did was unacceptable, for example, cheating and lying. And the narcissist leaves and stays gone for a week. Then comes back to your door as though nothing ever happened. The two of you exchange text messages regarding an important issue. The narcissist texts bye, and you don't hear from them again for 5 days. Or they say they'll come over, then never show up, nor explain their absence afterward. You sit down beside the narcissist to talk about something that's bothering you, and they proceed to read the newspaper. You ask the narcissist a question, and they carry on as if they didn't hear you, even if you repeat the question a second or third time. So, another example is the two of you get into an argument. The narcissist packs their suitcase and stays gone for a month with no attempt to contact you and ignores any texts you may send them. The other example of narcissistic silent treatment is that your beloved pet dies, and instead of being there for you emotionally, the narcissist reacts with cold indifference and perhaps even expresses disgust, accusing you of taking advantage of the situation to get a shred of emotion from them. So how do you handle this narcissistic silent treatment? When you love the narcissist, it's almost impossible to even think of ways you might stand up for yourself due to the threat of the narcissist disappearing again. But what many victims of narcissistic abuse confuse for love is really a manifestation of their fear of abandonment, which has been magnified by frequent silent treatments, as well as the devalue and discard faces carried out by the sadistic narcissist. As a result, they remain in a constant state of fight or flight, with no seeming choice but to suffer through panic attacks, loss of appetite, or binge eating, rapid heartbeat, sleep disturbances, mood swings, and horrible undying fear and obsessive thinking. So if someone in your life has used this form of emotional abuse to get you to comply with their demands, you should consider using the opportunity to initiate no contact. Do not reward this passive aggressive abuse tactic, as it will lead to them doing it even more, since they derive a sense of satisfaction, if not guilty pleasure, at seeing the negative effect they can have on you. So when a narcissist uses the silent treatment against you, he or she is playing an emotional game of chicken with your mind. You will be tempted to reach out and speak fast. When you do, the narcissist will have considered your reconciliation action a form of flinching. In their game book, they win and you lose. Since narcissists don't experience emotions the same way most people do, it is much easier for them to keep their cool and not flinch or swerve in the emotional chicken game. So don't send pleading text messages or lengthy emails asking them to respond to you. From their perspective, it proves to them that they are highly important, even more important than you are to yourself. So do, however, be prepared if the narcissist tries to hoover you. You might erringly believe that they are trying to contact you because they miss you or because they are having second thoughts about the way they have treated you. But this is not the truth at all. The narcissist only reaches out after a bout of narcissistic silent treatment to see if you'll allow them to get away with their bad behavior. After a week or more of the silent treatment, many narcissists will absolutely test you to see if you're still willing to engage with them. as if nothing happened. If there are no consequences or boundaries in place to stop them, a narcissist will do whatever suits their needs of the moment. In this case, this includes dropping in and out of your life whenever they get the urge. So, implementing no contact during the silent treatment in a relationship will put you back into a place of power, because when they prance back onto the scene, believing you'll fall to their feet, they'll encounter nothing but the sound of crickets. Narcissists tend to hoover you. Oftentimes, narcissists will circle back to prior sources of narcissistic supply to see if they can tap or suction up like a vacuum before targets attention, affection, adulation to fill their psychological void. So be cautious and don't be tempted with a rehook. So beware of the hook. Extreme narcissists cannot function without their perpetual need for ego fuel or narcissistic supply. Many have a homing device, zeroing in on their prior targets, vulnerabilities, and needs for validation. When a survivor of psychological abuse has been discarded after an abusive relationship with a narcissist, the survivor, generally speaking, reels with confusion and a need to understand why they have been cruelly cast aside. Extreme narcissists know this. The typical cycle of idealizing, devalue, discard is perpetuated as long as the target allows it. And the Hoover is a prime opportunity to instigate a new abuse cycle. So abusers will hoover around the holidays, typically after silent treatment. The narcissist will hoover you around the holidays after a long period of silent treatment. The survivor, the survivor will spins with cognitive dissonance and confusion of their former lover, friend, colleague, family member, vanishing without explanation, and often after a healthy boundary has been set by the survivor. Narcissists do not compromise or reflect on their own accountability. Narcissists are lacking the depth of empathy and compassion that is required for a healthy relationship. Extreme narcissists know that their former targets want the validation and understanding of what went wrong in the relationship, and will often instigate another idealization stage with their narcissistic supply sources. Holidays are a prime time for narcissists to circle around like a shark to test the waters for lifeblood. Targets often feel a sense of wistfulness and reminiscing of the good times when the idealization stage occurred with their former abuser. It is during this time of vulnerability that puts the survivor in danger of romanticizing the abusive relationship and having a sort of selective amnesia, recalling and longing for only the intense seduction stage at the beginning of the relationship. Narcissists can't stand losing center stage, and the holidays take away their spotlight unless they make themselves relevant again. Psychological abusers and narcissists also like to hoover around their own birthdays, especially if they are narcissistic and think the world revolves around them. Survivors of psychological abuse need to ramp up their efforts at no contact and surround themselves with family and friends who are healthy and who show evidence of empathy, compassion, integrity, authenticity, compromise, accountability, honesty, and reciprocity. The aforementioned elements are essential for a healthy relationship. Also recommended will be for survivors to keep their calendar busy with distractions during the holidays that are productive and self-care affirming, such as exercise, meeting a friend for coffee, volunteering for a non-profit, engaging in expressive arts to reduce stress, meditation and yoga exercises, and exposure to and infusions of nature. Survivors may want to schedule booster sessions with their therapist to help them to stay no contact and practice extreme self-care and healthy boundaries. In addition, survivors can remind themselves why they are not with their former narcissists, abusers, by recounting the cycles of abuse which resulted in emotional pain and suffering. Although it is difficult to regurgitate hurtful memories. Drafting a timeline of the relationship on paper can help the survivor to be reminded that contact with the abuser always equates to emotional pain. No good can ever come out of a relationship with someone who sadistically causes psychological harm. A reminder that the idealization stage was also a fantasy and a facade by the narcissist is critical. Although the survivor was capable of falling in love, the narcissist preyed upon the target's good nature and emotional IQ to extract narcissistic supply and dupe the target into falling in love. It was real for the survivor and false for the narcissist. Survivors are often comforted when support networks provide hope and reassurance that they will not only survive the holidays but eventually thrive again. Like any traumatic loss, the first holidays without a former lover or family member or friend is very hurtful and requires a mourning process. So when the individual being mourned is a narcissist, the process is much more complicated and requires the survivor to exquisitely attend to their psychological needs with a competent trauma-informed therapist trained in narcissistic abuse recovery and conditionally supportive and positive social support network and self-care. Survivor will learn to thrive again even during the holidays. Can a narcissist love you? Can a narcissist love you? Well, the answer is no. They are incapable of love. We don't exactly control our feelings when it comes to whom we fall for. And again, narcissists are extremely talented at luring people in, which makes them irresistible to most of us. So the question here is, are narcissists capable of putting their natural tendencies to the side and loving wholeheartedly? Or are their claims nothing but an act? Love and narcissism are quite frankly incompatible. One of the consequences of having a narcissistic personality disorder is the incapacity to lead healthy relationships. The inability to love truly goes hand in hand with this disorder. The struggle to build balanced relationships doesn't just touch on love and can indeed also spill over into friendships as well as the professional sphere too. So this troubling personality syndrome means that people suffering from narcissism are unable to show love because their inflated egos and sense of importance mean they lack empathy and they struggle to express positive feelings. Although their high self-esteem is more often than nothing but a mask, this facade prevents them from experiencing relationships to the fullest and accepting people for who they are. The truth is that a narcissist will never be fulfilled in a relationship. Dissatisfaction is their worst enemy, and because it is at the root of their disorder, they deal with these feelings on a daily basis. So, when taking this into account, why will it be any different for the narcissist in a relationship? Relationships are complicated, that's for sure, and for the relationships to work out in the long run, concessions have to be made. However, in order to make those important concessions, you need to genuinely care about your partner's feelings and view them as highly as your own. Evidently, this requirement isn't something that a narcissist is able to do because narcissists, they view themselves as being way more important than anyone else. That's right, this means that their needs must take priority. For the narcissist, that is all that matters. And no matter how hard anyone tries to change that, this will unfortunately always remain a fact. You'll unfortunately never be good enough to a narcissist. People who suffer from narcissistic personality disorder like to feel untouchable and they have the need for others to believe they live amazing lives worthy of being on magazine covers. Their superiority complex and need to feel admired mean that they will never be satisfied in love, and they will always want to change their partner, whether that be their appearance or even their beliefs. The sad thing is that no matter how hard their partners try, they'll always fall short and they will never live up to their expectations and demands. In a nutshell, These narcissists are separate individuals who don't really pay much attention to their partner's happiness, and they only ever focus on themselves, suggesting that they make horrible partners. In their eyes, their point of view is the only one that counts, meaning that they are unwilling to change or make the efforts necessary to preserve anyone's feelings. If you have ever been involved with a narcissist, you'll no doubt already know that they are totally incapable of considering anyone else. These people do, in fact, lack the capacity to accept other people, and not just those who don't live up to their standards. So, if you ever dated one narcissist, you'll probably also have memories of you feeling abandoned and totally unsupported in times of need, despite having reached out to them for help and guidance. Love is a commodity for them, a simple means to an end. So true love doesn't exist for these people, and if they try to claim any different and profess their feelings for you, take their words with a pinch of salt, because narcissists lie to get what they want. Indeed, in order to make themselves look and feel good, they'll do anything and everything, which means we must remain vigilant around the narcissists. These people are scarily self-serving, and if they believe that being in a relationship with someone will benefit them in some way, they won't hold back on pretending to be infatuated. Anything you have to offer them is up for grabs, and that includes money, sex, admiration, or status. In the most severe cases, some of them have been known to go as far as getting married to get what they want, albeit for the wrong reasons. Yep, you've guessed it. The practical side appeals to them more than real and raw emotions ever will. Now, what should you do if someone with a narcissistic personality claims to love you? As brutal as it may sound, you need to keep your wits about you and come to the realization that you are being emotionally abused and taken advantage of. The bottom line is, these types of personalities aren't equipped to lead healthy and fulfilling love stories. So if you are dating a narcissistic person, you are no doubt in a toxic relationship. Although you may not want to hurt your partner's feelings, you need to put yourself first and decide what is best for you. So if you want to be valued, if you want to be valued and accepted for who you are, then you'd best walk away and take some time out to rebuild your self-confidence, to rebuild your self-esteem. Now, narcissists are experts in the field of duping and manipulating their victims. Yes, that's right. Narcissists are true chameleons, which explains why many of them often go undetected. Their behavior is definitely dangerous and means we definitely need to figure out what makes the narcissist tick. And in that particular case, what do narcissists hate? So understanding what these entitled personalities the narcissists dislike is one of the keys to best exposing them and freeing their victims from their grip. Now, we all get angry for one reason or another, but people who are narcissists have different triggers related to the things they despise. Control is a narcissist's best ally, and they need it in order to be able to sink their claws into their victims. From deciding where to go out to eat, to taking the lead in conversations, these narcissists will want to be the ones pulling the strings, and if people don't get on board, well, that's just too bad. The narcissists, they feel they need to be the one who decides and feel entitled to take the lead in all circumstances. So no one likes to feel disrespected. But narcissists simply just can't accept that feeling. When they believe that someone has started to lose their admiration for them, things could take a dangerous turn, because the narcissist will do anything to win back that triumphant feeling of being looked up to. People who are narcissists are completely jealous of other people, be it for their possessions, their success, or their abilities. The bottom line is, the narcissist will always be envious of those they believe are truly respected for their authentic selves. So it is important to remember that narcissists are only put on a facade that they are strong, confident, and respectable. Yep, narcissists are only hiding behind a well-constructed mask, and they really don't view themselves very highly, being lectured and challenged on what they claim to know. Now, this point could really make the narcissist see red. It is not uncommon for sufferers to believe their own hype and to convince themselves and others, for that matter of fact, that they are experts in certain areas. So whether the narcissists believe they're completely up to date with current affairs, foreign policy, or even the history of football, they'll hate anyone else invading their so-called territory and claiming to know a thing or two. Jealousy also comes into play here and makes them feel threatened and undermined by people they obviously consider to be inferior to themselves. People with narcissistic tendencies hate being told no because they believe themselves to be superior and they know better than everyone else. So why would anyone need to go against them and affirm their views when someone else steals the limelight? How dare anyone steal a narcissist's glory? And if you choose to do so, you'd best be prepared to face their wrath. The truth of the matter is that these narcissists can't stand the idea of anyone in their entourage succeeding or doing better than them. Competition is everything for the narcissist, and second place is definitely out of the question. Being unable to manipulate their victims. This is undeniably their biggest source of frustration ever. Narcissists don't exist if they have no one to manipulate and control.